Hello, everyone. I am here with Lenora. Lenora Edwards is a published TEDx speaker and author and an expert by experience in overcoming eating challenges and advocates for mindful eating and body positivity. She's also renowned for her innovative approach to emotional wellness and eating habits, blending her expertise in hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, and holographic memory resolution. That's a mouthful. Lenora has crafted a unique methodology that empowers individuals to overcome emotional eating by harnessing the power of effective internal communication. With over a decade of experience, she has guided countless individuals to transform their relationship with food, fostering a life of confidence, balance, and self-compassion. I am so excited that you're here, Lenora. And obviously, we already started this conversation with many things we have in common, which has been beautiful. So I feel like there's just so many things I want to talk to you about. But obviously, the thing that stands out the most about you and what you do is your journey about emotional eating, what you've done to overcome it, and now how you're helping others do the same. So I would love for you to just share your journey and how you got into helping others, and maybe even your own journey and how it all started for yourself.
I am so excited to be here with you, Jessica. So thank you so much for having me. Yes, we jumped right into a conversation, which was awesome. When it came to emotional eating, this is something that I really struggled with for years on end. And I didn't really know that I would consider myself an emotional eater. You know, when you look in the rear view, it's a totally different experience when you notice things that you didn't see before. I would have just simply said I had bad eating habits. And between emotional eating and an eating disorder, I went through a whirlwind for well over 2 decades of my life. And I would go for periods of time where I wouldn't eat. And then I would go for periods of time where I was binging on food. And, you know, among the many things that people do with food, the one that was for me I would literally chew food and I would spit it out. And I could tell you I was having an awful experience. I could tell you I cried hysterically on the floor in the privacy of my own home many a times. I could tell you I really struggled, and I was very aware that I was always stressed and constantly battling and constantly thinking about food from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. And I did not know what to do. I am a huge fan of YouTube University and reading books and self-help materials of all kinds. And everything that I read was helping me take a step forward, and then I would probably take 2 steps back, or like 3 steps forward and then a step back or something like that. I could not get out of this cycle, and I would go for maybe a day or 2 days and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. And then the cycle would go back through and I just didn't know what to do. And finally, I was getting my second false tooth at the time when I was sitting in the dentist chair, and I heard a voice that said, maybe there's something you just don't know yet. And I had spent already thousands of trying to help myself. And I decided, let me reach out to a professional and see what they can do. And I had stalled on it for so long because I was horrified and mortified and so ashamed of what I was doing. And I had hit it well over for 2 decades, like I said, but also from my husband that I was living with. So I really did a great job of hiding my behaviors. Really, really challenging.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And having had an eating disorder myself and binge eating, I know how many times you don't want to admit to yourself that you have a problem,
Oh yeah,
right? It's
completely.
like it becomes this, oh yeah, I know I have this thing, but it's not that bad. Like it's
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's
Oh
normal.
yeah.
I think that people probably, like people must be same or similar, or like people are going
Yeah.
through things. And it's kind of like also this hiding it from the world, what you said, hiding it from your husband, being a professional in that. I feel like when you are
Oh yeah.
struggling with that, you're becoming so good at
Oh yeah.
hiding it from everyone else.
Yeah.
So I wonder what causes eating disorders? Like what got you there in the first place?
hmm For me, I can look back and I can see a lot of mine was a lot about control, as in I didn't feel like I had control. I was told to do this. I was told to do this. I was told to go here. I was told to go there. And then also when we look at, especially as young women and children, And I grew up in the 90s. So in the 90s, it was very big, or late 80s, early 90s. For quick math, I'm 30, 38 going on 39. And there was a lot of narrative about to be skinny, to be on a diet, and to fit into this. And, it's heartbreaking, especially as young children. We see young children, wow, you're getting so big, how wonderful. And then one day you enter a doctor's office and they're looking at you, and now suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me, because look at the way that they're looking at me and pointing, and oh, well, you need to lose weight, or they shouldn't have been gaining this much weight. We celebrate this, and then we go ahead and we're cheering them on, and then suddenly we're shaming people. And we just pick this stuff up as we're going through our experiences and as we're growing through life. For me, it wasn't one single event where I thought, I'm going to pick up an eating disorder and I'm going to pick this up. It was one of those things where food became such a comfort for me, and I was such a love of food, and then it became a hatred of food. And it's this battle that goes on, and we don't really have a great, and I like to think that I'm part of the conversation helping people understand that it is something that happens. They're okay, especially when they reach out to professionals. There's no judgment, but there really is still a lot of judgment around how we navigate food, how we navigate our body, how we feel in our body. And it's important that we open the conversation that says, let's talk about it. When we look at it, it's a problem on the table. It's not pointing to the person going, they're a problem. It's looking at it going, okay, I see you're unhappy. Let's talk about it. How can I help you? What's going on? And having that place where you can really have that conversation and go with somebody that becomes so trusting to you, and that you can build that open relationship with, that you can share what feels like the ugliest, most awful parts of yourself with this other person. And this other person goes, okay, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not judging you. I'm right here, and I'm going to hold your hand, and we're going to get through this. Oh my gosh, completely life altering.
Thing what you said about like you realize you have an emotional relationship with food, and it's part of your life, and you make it part of your life until you realize it's actually really holding you back and living your best life.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like it becomes part of our life, and then you realize because of that thing, you actually can't do the things that you actually truly want to. There's something holding you back. If it's the energy, because all of the energy and attention is going to food, and it's consuming every single day, every single minute, how you said,
Yeah.
of your everyday. And also, you said not judging yourself for it when you realize, hey, I have this thing. For me, it was definitely a combination as well of what you said, with like that pressure of having to look and be a certain way. Definitely trauma for me as well, but also seeing it in my mom. My mom also had it, and she immediately, without knowing, I saw her, mirror it to me. And
Yeah.
obviously then I started doing it myself, and I thought it's normal. I thought it's okay to talk about yourself a certain way, to talk about your body in a certain way, to judge yourself every time you look into the mirror and look at
Oh yeah.
which parts of you do you want to change, to over exercise, all of those things. So for you, when you realized, okay, this is the problem that I have and I'm reaching out for help, what do you think people have to wait that long, or do you feel like it's, what I'm trying to ask is, so many times we wait until it's very late and until we're really miserable. How can someone take the action, and they don't have to wait until they try another 100 times to change it?
Yeah. And I think especially that's such a beautiful question of what we're willing to tolerate. And I think you touched on it beautifully when you said, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's not that bad. You don't realize how bad it is until you're much better. And you look back and you go, wow, that was really, you look back at your other versions of yourself, and you have so much empathy for them, and you're thinking, that was so hard, and I'm sorry to that version of myself that I took that long to get help. It was so painful. And for me, I remember, especially being so torn with it and struggling so much. There was a point where I would drive and I would think, if I hit that guardrail at the right angle, I can stop this. And I would think, but what about my husband? And what would they tell him? He would not have any explanation of what was going on because I didn't share it with him. And I truly hope that people understand that they don't need to wait to get to that point. If you're not happy, if you know something's wrong and I don't know what to do, start finding somebody that you can reach out to as a professional and build that trust relationship. It might not be the first person that you go with, it might be the sixth person, but keep going and keep looking for somebody that you feel that you can trust and that they have your back and that they can help. And it might be that second or third person you reach out to, and they'll take you as far as you can go. And then you might have to look for another person and they'll take you as far as you can go. But if it's truly something that's important to you, to keep going and to keep fighting and to keep finding solutions, because I promise you there are solutions. And you mentioned very specifically about trauma. And so when it comes to emotional eating and eating disorders, there are so many different things that come to it, that connect to it, especially if, as young children or young boys and young girls, there can often be sexual encounters that you're told good girls don't lie. Good girls don't make stuff up. Don't tell lies about something that happened. And you're taught not to lie and you're taught to keep secrets. And you're taught that if you tell something that somebody will look at you as a liar, then you must be bad. And you send all these mixed messages to children, and then we give them candy and say, oh, it's our secret, don't tell them. And they don't understand that. So what happens is they go into protective mode. And the great thing is that as humans, we're designed this way. We're designed to protect ourselves. So if the message is, my body's bad, or somebody touched me and I didn't like it, I will find ways, we as humans, we will find ways to protect our body. And if we unconsciously come up with the reason of, I'm pretty, I got this because I'm pretty, we will effectively work to not be seen as pretty and to create that barrier to ultimately protect ourselves. And it's a great thing that we're designed that way. But unfortunately, so many times that message is communicated to children: don't tell lies, keep secrets, and that you can't have somebody to go to as a safe person. So what do they do with it? They internalize it. They don't realize that they're working to keep their body safe so that it doesn't happen again. 200 pounds later is a different story, but they don't remember it a lot of the time because they work to block it out. And it's something that is very important to me to keep helping people understand they're okay. They're not broken. And I promise that there are solutions. There's ways to help yourself.
I love that you shared this because I think a lot of people don't make that connection, right? They think something is broken within them and they need to fix themselves, but they don't realize that also upbringing, the things that you heard, the things that people told you, all of that programs you to become someone with certain habits and certain, reactions and things that you do. And for me, that was definitely also learning to feel my emotions. I wasn't able to feel my emotions. I was never allowed
Oh yeah.
to express myself because I always was the
Mhm.
fixer in my family, right? And so coming from a background of always being the middleman between my mom and my father, I've learned to put myself to the side and not feel because they needed me. And
Right.
so I didn't realize that whenever an emotion was coming up, like maybe sadness, anger, frustration,
Mhm.
something that felt very intense, I was like,
Mhm.
can I escape this emotion? Let me go to
Oh yeah.
food because food is helping me right now cope with
Yeah.
that. And I would do it over and
Completely.
over and over again. And then I would be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I ate too much. And I would go purge. And I would realize I
Mhm.
was caught in this cycle. And it's also, I think, connected to what you said, that so many of us don't learn how to be, how
Yeah.
to feel those emotions, because we're told,
Hmm.
don't cry, don't be sad, this is wrong right now, this is,
Yeah.
and sorry, I don't know if you heard that. That was
That's
very,
okay.
right. And so I would love for you to talk a little bit more about also the emotional aspect of people people feeling their emotions or not feeling their emotions, and how that is connected to eating as well.
Absolutely, especially when we're telling children, "Oh, don't cry," or "Don't cry and I'll give you something to cry about." Wow, that's a lot. So what really quite literally happens, especially when we reach for food, we're working to stabilize our emotional response. And the great thing is that this is a habit. We go, "Oh, I know. Let me go get something to eat." What happens is as we eat, not only are we quite literally stuffing down our emotions, we're going past the energetic channel of where our voice is. It's not safe for us to express that we have emotions. It's not safe for us to express this. We literally go through the process of stuffing it down and going past that channel. And then what happens is we get a rush of we get a rush of blood. Our body's trying to digest this food. Our body's going into overload, and we get to escape from our body and come back up to our head, where it's much safer because we had such strong feelings in our body that we didn't want to feel them, but also we're not taught how to feel them. And especially in today's culture, we're hearing a lot about big emotions, and I'm somebody who doesn't necessarily say they're a big emotion or they're a small emotion. It's an emotion, and we're emotional beings. We cannot escape this. We are designed this way. How we process our emotions is truly important. And to really understand, ultimately at our core, we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to be validated, as in, I hear you. It's okay. And to not have somebody be shamed for how they're feeling. If a little kid gets their toy taken away, they're upset. And okay, great. We don't need to tell them there's nothing to be upset about. You have to share. Let them get it out. Let them move this energy so that they can actually process, oh, I can come back down. I'm okay. It's okay that they took that. And yes, it is a absolutely a process of they're not going to get it the first time. They're not going to get it the first 50 times, but they're going to build that skill. And so quickly we're well, you're not great at it yet. You're not perfect at it yet. And or I'm not as good as they are. And then we start judging ourselves, and then we internalize this judgment. And then at any point we internalize our judgment, we develop this amazing ability to criticize ourselves. And then we have an inner critic going on. We're shaming ourselves, but we don't like feeling shamed. So what do? We go reach for food, and the cycle continues. So much really goes back to how the environment that we're growing up in, but even as adults. Okay, great, Lenore, you're 38. You're not 12 years old. You're not 8 years old, and you know more now. It's my responsibility to take care of my emotions and to really honor how I'm feeling in a way that's helpful for me. I don't need to. I used to have a terrible time with managing my anger because I didn't know other than to explode. And I used to slam things, and I would slam the door in my house, and to the point that I broke a door frame at one point, and my husband's like, "Really?" And I could understand him being upset, and I could understand me being upset. That wasn't the best way to express yourself, Lenora. We need to find better ways, and that's a great thing. Looking back, I have the ability to say that. In that moment, I'm pretty intense, and I need to get that energy moving. That's how I got it moving. Now we know more. So now we can get to go back to those parts of ourselves that are saying, I don't feel heard, and say, okay, I hear you. I'm right here. I'm listening. And I encourage my clients all the time to journal. I encourage them to honor how they feel and to get that energy moving so that it's heard and you can regulate yourself much better. It's not that you're not angry. It's not that you're not anxious. It's not that you're not depressed. Absolutely. Allow it to come out. Allow it to be heard.
I think this is so great, because what you also said is like, these emotions are not bad. They're not wrong. If you feel angry, it's okay. And especially I feel like as women as well, we're shamed to not express these emotions and to not express anger. And a good girl is quiet and doesn't say what she thinks and blah, 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 blah. And this is another thing that then, can develop in
Yeah.
an emotional relationship with food. So also understanding that emotions, how you say, there's no good or bad emotion, it's emotion. And they're meant to move through our bodies. And when we're not giving the space, then we will explode. Right.
Yeah.
And we will find other ways to express
Yeah.
this emotion, and probably not the healthiest ways. Um,
Mhm.
so I love everything that you said. Now, I wonder, someone who's listening to this right now, and it's probably like, do I have an emotional relationship with food? How will someone know if they have an emotional relationship with food?
That's an amazing question. When you have an emotional relationship with food, or you're finding, I just finished my lunch, but I really want to go get something to eat, or I just ate and I want to have more food, or you're a sleeve length into your favorite cookie or something like that. What's something to notice is, what were you doing? For example, and you mentioned this earlier, as women, we have so many ideas and we want to do so many things, but when we're stuck in a relationship with food, we can't do those ideas. We can't do those things because all we're obsessed over is food. And at least, excuse me, that I'm going to speak very specifically for myself. I would think, and at the time I had a business that I was wanting to take to the next level, but I quite literally couldn't because I didn't have the capacity to sit down and write out a business plan. Because anytime I started to write down a business plan, I would freak out. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. What do I think I can do this? And before I know it, I'm reaching for food because I quite literally was so unsure of myself. I didn't have a trust with myself. I didn't know what to do, where to go, where to start, and I would get easily overwhelmed. And when I was easily overwhelmed, I needed to go find ways to calm myself. Or if I was going into a new situation, when I was in a work setting, I worked in a hospital for a period of time, and when I would interact with people that I did not know, so whether it was physicians or physician assistants or family members, and they're asking me questions, I'm doing my best to hold my composure and offer the information that I have. And then I would go and hide, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Why did I say that? Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid." And then before I know it, I'd be eating food to regulate myself because I was so unsure. I didn't have the posture of feeling like I could speak safely, I could speak for myself, and I could sound intelligent as I did that. So there really was a lot of building my own internal environment. The voices in my head were extraordinarily vicious, and I really needed to work through the voices in my head to ultimately calm my nervous system. I didn't need to be told all these harsh things. I didn't need to be called all these very, very painful names that I would call myself on the regular. And working through that, especially with the technique that I'm certified in, holographic memory resolution, what I didn't understand is that the voices that were in my head were not only they were my voices, but sometimes they were echoes of other people's opinions. And I took them on as my own. And in understanding that, and once I really understood my emotions aren't bad, and that some of the voices were trying to help me, like I said to my coach, I'm like, "What do you mean some of the voices are trying to help me? They just called me pathetic, horrible, and stupid." No, they're trying to help you. They're telling you something. And they would walk me through this technique that really not only helped me reframe my voices in my head, but it also helped regulate my nervous system so that I wasn't going into moments of panic, that I wasn't going into moments of anxiety, or that I wasn't going into all this intensity. So I was able to feel calmer in my body. The more calmer I felt, the better the voices got. And it did this beautiful rewiring. And that's an amazing thing about our mind and our body, is that we have the ability, we're not concrete. We have the ability to shift and to be fluid and to continue to allow ourselves the ability to change how we are, but we don't have to do it with only 5% of our conscious mind. We get to do it with the other 95%, our subconscious. And it really is a beautiful way of helping us become much more whole and much more regulated.
I love what you said about voices in your mind, and many of them not being your own and being your parents or your grandparents or someone else's, and not realizing that they're actually not your own. And you take them on, and you make it all about yourself, and then you realize, hold on, did I ever say this to myself, or did someone say this to me? And that makes such a big difference when it finally clicks for you and you're like, oh my God, it all
Oh
like
yeah.
just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So this is great. And I think also what I love what you said of like how it truly holds you back, even if you want to be creative. Like, we are naturally creative beings, especially women. We are the life force of creation, right? And
Completely.
and we have it so naturally in us, but it gets blocked by us not being able to fully express and be in our emotions, because creativity is emotions, right? You both literally go hand in hand. No one who's creative can create something without emotions. And then when you have an emotional relationship with food, you can't allow yourself to be there and to create, if it's a business, if it's art, whatever that might be. So I think what you just said of like the connection between those two is so powerful, because I don't think we realize it many times. And as you were speaking as well, I was like, do I still sometimes go to food, or is that just because sometimes it can also become a learned behavior, like it just
Hmm.
learned, right? So a lot of people, why they can't unlearn it is because it's became a routine for them. They're like, oh, work, it's 2 p.m, I'm overwhelmed, I need a snack. And then the
Yeah.
snack becomes another snack, and then another thing. So how do you know also, like, is it a learned behavior now, or is it truly emotional eating?
There's so in my group coaching program, it's called Eat, Love, Heal, healing emotional eating with compassion. The first thing that I share with my students and my clients is begin with awareness. So I teach my Be Free method, so BEFREE. And the first thing to begin with awareness. And that's a great question of, is it a habit or is it emotional eating? And there are times where I will notice like, ooh, I want to go bake something. And for me, that is an indicator, because I've now really tuned into myself and I honor what I'm feeling. I won't necessarily run and go do that. I'll go, oh, what do I not want to be doing? What am I procrastinating? What else is going on for me? And sometimes it is a habit. For example, I used to eat cereal in front of the TV, and I would eat standing up. And I was very specific about this because that's what I saw growing up. It was like one of the favorite things that my dad and I did. We bonded over this, was eating cereal, standing up in the kitchen, watching TV. And to notice that this is a very happy memory. This is a great way of something that he and I truly enjoyed. We had a lot of laughs, and it's a good memory. I don't consider it to be a bad memory. When I started to do that, and I would go polish off 3/4 of a box of cereal, I was just, oh, I'm in a habit of standing here and doing this. I'm just not paying attention. Okay, so now I have to pay attention to that habit. So it really is starting to begin with awareness. What are you doing? And notice also what triggered it. For example, I would go and sit down, as I mentioned, to do a business plan. And then I would find myself 5 minutes later standing up in the kitchen. That was a trigger for me. It wasn't necessarily a habit. It was a habit of how I coped with that emotion also. And something to two things I want to share is that it wasn't that I could control it. It wasn't, oh, well, just don't do that. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. Sure. When you're somebody who's seeking out food because you're like, I need something right now, and it comes on really abruptly. Hunger, when we're hungry, it's very gentle. It's like it like something, it doesn't send you into what felt like to me was a panic of like, I need something now. And it would be such a rush of emotion and intensity that I would have to go find something to eat. And it wasn't necessarily my favorite thing. It was just literally something that was in the cabinet that wouldn't make any sense. But what it was helping me regulate. And I do also want to share, if anybody's listening, and especially I know I talked a lot about growing up, my parents are wonderful. They're wonderful people. The teachers that I had around me were wonderful people. And I'm not saying I had a bad childhood. I had a great childhood. And I love that you shared what your mom had mentioned or what your mom had done. My parents absolutely were doing the best that they could at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy available to them. Do I think that they were bad people to me and they did this intentionally or they tried to control my life intentionally? Gosh, no. They were absolutely doing the best that they could. And I can see that because I also have the ability to look back and reflect and say, was did they tell me not to eat the third slice of pizza because they were worried that I was going to get sick? And maybe three slices of pizza for a 6-year-old wasn't a really great idea? Or were they trying to control me? That's that ability to really say, oh, that makes sense. To the 6-year-old, it might feel like control. You don't know me. I get to do what I want. You're 6. You don't have the ability to really understand 3 slices of pizza aren't going to sit well in your stomach and you're going to feel bad later. That's a normal thing. It wasn't that they were trying to control me. They were literally trying to help. So especially as we work with children and as children are growing up, doing the best that we can to help them in these situations that say, I know you want that third slice, but your belly's going to probably not feel great. So let's find something else rather than something else that might come through of, no, I said don't do this. Really encouraging children to start tuning into their bodies of saying, okay, do you really want this? Or what else can we do? And helping them develop that intuition of what is good for them. I know that that was a little bit of a sidebar. I just wanted to make sure I did add that.
I actually want to go there too, though, because so I have learned slash heard that children, babies, are naturally intuitive in terms of hunger cues. So they know exactly how much they need and they stop drinking the milk or whatever when they're full.
Yeah.
And then over time, as kids grow up and parents are like, finish the plate or you can't go play with your friends outside, they
Yeah.
lose that ability to understand intuitively how much they are meant to eat. Same thing happened to me, right? Again, I completely agree. My mom did everything she could in her part. I don't think she still until this day, I don't think she's aware that she still has that relationship with food, right? But I also know that this is what you said. She had all of those tools available to her. And I know that obviously she taught me ways of how she was taught in her childhood too, like
Hmm.
food scars, like me coming from Poland and my parents moving to Germany and growing up like in a very different way, knowing that tomorrow there might be no food on the plate, right? That's how many people have grew up back then. So it was very much from that point of like, finish your plate. And it was so ingrained in me to finish my plate, even if I'm full and I'm sick, like I'm finishing my plate. And so later on, obviously, I have unlearned my hunger. I didn't know anymore. Am I full now? Should I stuff myself? Should I eat until I'm 80% full? Like, how can someone unlearn and learn new ways to eat and to understand their bodies and to understand how much they actually need in terms of food?
Yeah. I love that. That's such a great insights. And it is something that we do often teach children. Don't, if you finish your plate or you go outside, or if you don't eat this, you can't have this, or you were bad, so you're going to go to bed hungry. And there are so many things that people have said to me about the way that they had grown up or the things that they share with children. And so I have a background in speech pathology, and I've worked with children who have swallowing difficulties or who have aversions to food. And it really is especially when it comes to helping children eat safely, we want to make food a safe relationship. And babies are completely born with the ability that says, hey, something's wrong. I'm going to cry. And whether it's I need love, I need to be fed, or I need to be changed, they know instinctively that this is a way that that I can get my wants and my needs fulfilled. And that's a great thing. We often go ahead and we override the system that says, nope, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to finish because you need to grow up big and strong, or you need to finish. But also from the parent's perspective, they're worried that their child might not gain enough weight. They're worried that their child's brain might not develop because they didn't eat enough. So there is a lot of time that really should be spent around nurturing the relationship with food, nurturing the relationship with people around you when food is present, and to be very respectful of it. I live in Pennsylvania. I live in the Northeast part of the US, and we're very go, 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 faster, faster, faster. You don't need to sit down and eat, and you don't need to bond. You need to go faster. And it really is something to encourage people to really, when we're with food, our culture would have you very disconnected. Eat while you're driving, eat while you're on your lunch and you're working through lunch. It's a very big disconnect between food. And what we're actually doing is we're, during the act of food, is nurturing and nourishing our body and saying, body, I love you so much. Thank you so much for helping support me. I want to have this really good meal and I want to enjoy it and I want to be satisfied. And if we're not connected to our food, we get disconnected. And then we're like, oh man, that wasn't that good of a meal. Well, sure, we didn't pay attention to it. When we can start to really build that relationship that says, this is a task that I'm going to do, just like we sit down and we hopefully drive without texting, or we sit down and we are intimate with our partner. We're not usually on the phone or having a sandwich doing that. This should have the same commitment. This should have the same respect of approaching it, but also helping children understand this is what we're going to do now, and we're going to sit, we're going to have fun, and it'll be something to be playful and enjoy and to bond in a way that's healthy, because we always bond around food. And it's, think about your first birthday party. There was a cake there, I'm sure. It's a bonding experience, but also to respect your body and say, okay, did I have enough? Am I satisfied? And to encourage that relationship that if there is food out, okay, are you satisfied? Yeah, I'm good. Wonderful. All right, how should we put our food away? Because now that it's served us, what do we want to do next? And let them be a part of that process from beginning to end, helping them really understand that this is something to respect. Our body is something to take care of and to respect, and our food is something to take care of and respect. And I'm very passionate about that one. Also, I actually started to build my Eat, Love, Heal Plus program. And what this is very specific for mothers of young children to help them build their relationship with food, and to also encourage women to start looking at themselves with love and let their children see this. Let their children look in the mirror and say, I am pretty. I am lovely. I love me. And that's important to me, and get them to really respect themselves early on so that they can grow up to have a voice and to stand in the ability that says, I matter. I'm not going to play small because you don't think I should be here. I matter. And I'm going to speak and I'm going to share and I'm going to grow, and it's going to be great.
I love I'm very big on self-love as well. And I think as women, how you say, we can be so mean to ourselves sometimes. Like, we would never say these things to our children or anyone ever that we know. It's us saying these things to us. And it's a way that we're not even realizing we're doing it. It becomes, again, a habit. It becomes so unconscious, right? It's like we wake up in the morning and we're already starting to say these things to ourselves. The moment we look at ourselves in the mirror, something goes wrong. And it's like, of course, like, who did you think you are to do this thing or to be that, or who cares? And I think a lot of people don't realize how big the connection between self-love and emotional eating really is. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit more of like how to cultivate that self-love from within and what a big difference that can make.
It makes all the difference. And I love that, especially, and you're right, as women, we start early and we pick it up from the media, we pick it up from other people. We also bond over this with friends, and like, oh, I hate that, even we see it in the movie Mean Girls. I hate this part of my body. I hate that part of my body. And even the character goes, I don't know. Like, she didn't take herself apart that way. And I think one of the most powerful things is when you look back, and even if you take a moment and you pause and you think about the baby that you were when you were born, and imagine holding yourself. You weren't born thinking, I hate my body. You weren't born thinking food is bad for me. These are things that we picked up. So if we pick them up, we can also put them down. And that's really something powerful to notice that says, oh, I don't have to do this. Oh, I learned this. And you mentioned it earlier. And now unlearn it. And to start building that relationship, one of the things that I really found powerful is to start looking in the mirror. And this was something that I would not at the time, I would not take my clothes off and do this because it was very uncomfortable for me. I literally would just look at my face and I would start by saying I love you in my head because I couldn't say it out loud. And even when I would say it and then I would hear a voice that goes, no, I don't. And I would have this battle with myself. And so I would start to play with my language. I might not love all of me, but I'm doing my best. I love some of me, and that's a good thing right now. There's something I can find to love about me right now. And as you're doing that, what you're doing is you're looking in your own eyes. You're using your own voice. You're allowing those other voices to be heard, and you're talking to them in a way that they're heard and that they're not berated, but that they're supported. So even when I would hear a critical voice, I would work to have a much more nurturing voice. Say, okay, I hear you. I'm still doing my best. And somebody might say, like, you're talking to yourself an awful lot here, Lenora. We're always talking to ourselves. You cannot happen. And when you're thinking about stuff, you're talking to yourself. And when you can start to notice your inner critic, and your nurturing voice, your kind voice, especially when it comes to self-love, because self-love to me in the media is a bubble bath and a candle, and that's it.
Oh my.
Self-love, self-love to me is so much more. And to give yourself permission to start to explore it is a beautiful gift.
I love that you just said it. Self-love in the media is I'm going to take a bath once a week because I love myself. No, like it can be part of it. But if you're still saying all of those things to yourself, that's not self-love. Like I used to take a bubble bath and still have those thoughts like, oh, this is not right. Like I should be doing something else.
Yes.
Right. So it's like this vicious cycle again that you're
Yeah.
not realizing that you're pretending to love yourself, but not really. It's not internalized. It's not
Yeah.
truly felt, like your body is not
Yeah.
feeling it. And I remember that was a while back, my partner actually, he challenged me because I was going through a time as well where I was struggling with confidence and things not working out in my life the way that I wanted to. And he put me in front of the mirror and he's like, say something nice to yourself. And I couldn't. I looked at myself like, I think it's so crazy. I can say so many nice things to you, to other people. I can look you in the eyes and do that. But as I was looking myself in the eyes, oh my God, it was so weird when you do it for the first time. And it's okay for it to feel weird in the beginning. It will
Love
get
that you said that.
right. Like it's one of the exercises I also share with my clients because I know how powerful it was for me. But it's hard in the beginning, and it's okay because I don't think you've ever looked at yourself the way that you do when you really look yourself in the
Oh yeah.
eyes.
Oh yeah.
There's such a different connection that you build with yourself
Oh
than
yeah.
I think just by journaling is good, but you're still not fully connecting with you when
Mhm.
you really look at you. So
Yeah.
I
I
love that.
love that. That's so super powerful. Your
As we're
partner.
coming to the end, this is amazing. I still have like a million questions I didn't get to ask you, but I think
I know you and I could sit here for hours.
it was really insightful and really, really powerful. And maybe you want to share as well, how can people find you? How can people reach out to you? What is the work that you do? I know you mentioned your signature program, which I love the name because it reminds me of the movie that I really love as well.
Love that memory. Oh, so powerful.
So tell us more about, how people can find you and work with you.
The best way to reach me is at my website. It's eatlovehealjourney.com. And I am very passionate, just like you, about being able to help other people and especially women, because I think you and I both are on such a mission. We know how bad we felt, and we want to minimize that as much as humanly possible because we don't want other people to feel that way.
Thank you so much. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Jess.
you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.